Most relationships don't die in fights. They die in sentences. Simple words, thrown like knives. You owe me? All men are trash. Just leave. Then, each phrase is a nail in the coffin of respect. And once respect is gone, love doesn't stand a chance. People think heartbreak happens overnight. A breakup, a betrayal, a final argument. But the truth is quieter. It happens in language. In the small moments when affection turns into control. When words stop connecting and start cutting. You see, the human mouth is the most accurate lie detector ever invented. You can fake affection. You can rehearse empathy. But you can't fake consistency in language. Words are fingerprints. They reveal exactly who someone is beneath the mask. In healthy love, words build bridges. They clarify. They heal. But in toxic love, words become weapons. They twist reality. They create confusion. They train you to doubt yourself, one sentence at a time. And by the time you notice, you're no longer reacting to her words. You're conditioned by them. That's why awareness is power. Because once you start listening, not for what she says, but how she says it, the entire illusion collapses. In this video, we'll break down 6 phrases women say that quietly destroy respect, love, and peace. And once you recognize them, you'll never hear them the same way again. Language is the first weapon ever invented. Before fists, before wars, before betrayal, there were words. In healthy relationships, words are bridges. They connect two people. They soothe misunderstandings. They build safety. But in toxic relationships, those same words become tools of control. They don't heal. They shape reality. They twist meanings until you can't tell the difference between love and guilt. That's how emotional manipulation begins. Quietly, subtly. It doesn't start with yelling. It starts with language. With phrases repeated just enough times that they start to sound normal. A joke with an edge. A comment that lingers. A tone that makes you question your own reaction. And here's the dangerous part. You adapt. You start responding, adjusting, explaining, apologizing. You're no longer listening to her words. You're reacting to her patterns. Your nervous system becomes trained to walk through conversations like a minefield. This is why I say, the mouth doesn't lie. It tells you everything, if you know how to listen. When someone feels entitled, threatened, or superior, their vocabulary exposes it long before their actions do. What most men miss is that these phrases aren't random. They're habits. Linguistic signatures of manipulation learned over years. Once you start hearing them for what they are, the illusion breaks. You stop being controlled by the sound of love and start seeing the structure of control. So let's decode them, one by one. 6 sentences that quietly kill respect and reveal who she really is beneath the mask. 1. You owe me. When love becomes a transaction, it sounds harmless at first. A soft tone, a casual smile. You owe me. But those 3 words change everything. Love isn't meant to keep score. It's not a contract, not a balance sheet. The moment you owe me enters the relationship, affection stops being connection and becomes currency. Here's the psychology. Entitlement replaces gratitude. When someone believes they're owed, every act of kindness becomes a debt to collect. Every favor, every compromise, every moment of care, it's now evidence of what you should give back. And it never ends. Because the ledger isn't real. It's emotional. The more you give, the deeper the debt seems to grow. Example. You owe me a nice life because I stayed with you. You owe me happiness because I sacrificed for you. Sounds rational, but it isn't. It's manipulation disguised as fairness. Healthy love says, thank you. Entitled love says, finally. So when you hear, you owe me, listen carefully. What she's really saying is, your existence is here to serve my comfort. That's not love. That's employment. And you never signed the contract. 2. I don't owe you anything. The mask of false independence. At first, it sounds powerful, confident, independent. But listen again. I don't owe you anything. It's not about freedom. It's about dismissal. She says it when you finally bring up something that hurts you. You express a boundary, and she fires back with detachment. Here's the psychology. True independence coexists with accountability. It says, I'm my own person, but I respect how my choices affect you. Toxic independence says, my choices are sacred, and your pain is irrelevant. This phrase is emotional armor. It lets her enjoy connection without responsibility, commitment without consequence. She gets the benefits of a relationship, attention, affection, security, but refuses the weight of empathy. Example, you mention her late-night messages to another guy. She says, I don't owe you anything. Now your feelings become the problem. You're not asking for control. You're asking for respect. But in her world, accountability feels like restriction, and the more you accept it, the more the balance shifts. You give, she takes. You explain, she dismisses. Real independence honors the relationship it chooses. This kind denies it while benefiting from it. So remember this when she says, I don't owe you anything. What she really means is, I'll take what I want, without the weight of who it affects. That's not power. That's indifference wearing lipstick. 3. All men are trash. Bitterness disguised as wisdom. You've heard this one before. It trends online. It sounds strong, bold, even witty. All men are trash. But that's not empowerment. That's pain talking through pride. This phrase isn't truth. It's trauma with a microphone. It's not an opinion. It's a scar asking for validation. Here's the psychology. When someone has been hurt deeply, it's easier to condemn everyone than to trust anyone. If she convinces herself that all men will fail her, she never has to risk vulnerability again. That belief becomes a cage. Every good gesture is suspicion. Every mistake is confirmation. She's not dating you. She's debating her past. And you'll never win. Because in her story, she's already the victim. And victims always need villains. So you try to prove you're different. You over-give, over-explain, over-prove. But you're not healing her. You're auditioning for her approval. The more you try to fix her view of men, the more she feels right about it. The tragedy. Her bitterness hides fear. Fear of being wrong again. Fear of being open. Fear of peace. When pain becomes ideology, love becomes impossible. So when you hear, all men are trash, don't argue. Don't prove. Just understand. You're standing in front of a wound, pretending to be a worldview. 4. I'm just a girl. The disguise of helplessness. She says it with a pout, a laugh, maybe even a shrug. I'm just a girl. It sounds innocent. It sounds cute. But make no mistake. This is strategy, not softness. Here's the psychology. It's called weaponized incompetence. Appearing incapable to shift responsibility onto someone else. She forgets the bill. Oops, I'm just a girl. She stirs up drama, overspends, or causes chaos. And suddenly, it's not her fault. It's emotion. It's hormones. It's just how girls are. But each time she says it, accountability dies a little more. Men fall for it because we're wired to protect, to fix, to forgive. And she knows that. She knows you'll step in. You'll handle the mess, calm the storm, take the blame. Over time, you become both protector and scapegoat. She gets to play fragile while you carry both roles. But she's not weak. She's selective. She's only helpless when it helps her, strong when it benefits her, soft when it shields her. Healthy femininity admits mistakes. It says, I messed up. I'll make it right. Toxic femininity hides behind gender. It says, I can't help it. I'm emotional. So next time she says, I'm just a girl, hear the translation. I refuse to be accountable. That's not vulnerability. That's theta. And you're not her audience. You're her alibi. 5. If you loved me, you would. Love turned into leverage. This one feels romantic on the surface. If you loved me, you would. It sounds like devotion, but it's a test you can never pass. Here's the psychology. It's emotional blackmail dressed as intimacy. It turns love into proof, affection into obedience. She's not asking, she's measuring. How much of yourself will you give up to make me happy? At first, it's small. If you loved me, you'd skip that night out. Then it grows. If you loved me, you'd stop talking to your friends. Eventually, it becomes, if you loved me, you'd give up who you are. You comply because you care. But each compromise erases another piece of your identity. And fear replaces affection. Fear of losing her, fear of conflict, fear of not being enough. That's how control feels when it's disguised as love. This phrase weaponizes your best traits: loyalty, empathy, protectiveness. It uses your strength against you. Healthy love doesn't demand proof. It doesn't threaten peace to test loyalty. It doesn't say, prove it. It says, I trust it. So next time you hear, if you loved me, you would, pause. Understand what she's really asking, not for love, for compliance. Real love expands your freedom. It doesn't shrink it. Because love that needs evidence was never love to begin with. 6. Just leave then. The bluff of control, and finally, the phrase that ends everything before it even ends. Just leave then. She says it in anger. Mid-argument, when you finally start standing your ground. But it's not an invitation to go. It's a bet that you won't. Here's the psychology. It's control disguised as indifference. A manipulation of scarcity. She wants to see if your fear of losing her is stronger than your desire for respect. If you'll fold first, most men do, they panic, they apologize, they chase, not because they were wrong, but because they've been conditioned to see her leaving as failure. And the moment you back down, the balance shifts forever. Now she knows she can win any argument by threatening absence. Her just leave then becomes a leash, invisible, but suffocating. The truth, she doesn't want you gone. She wants you scared of going. Because fear is the most reliable form of control. Healthy partners don't weaponize separation. They repair. They communicate. They choose the relationship again and again. Ultimatums aren't boundaries. They're traps. So next time she says, just leave then, believe her. Not because she means it, but because you need to mean it. Pack your peace. Walk away without anger, without speeches. Because the moment you do, the game ends. And she loses the only power she ever had, the illusion that you wouldn't. These 6 phrases may sound familiar. Maybe you've heard one. Maybe you've lived through all 6. They don't appear all at once. They creep in, quietly. And by the time they echo in your mind, you're already questioning your worth. But now, you'll hear them differently. Because what once sounded like love will finally sound like what it always was. Control, entitlement, and fear dressed as affection. And once you can name the pattern, you can't be trapped by it again. Now that you've heard the phrases, let's step back and look deeper. Because what makes them dangerous isn't just the words themselves. It's the psychology behind them. Manipulation doesn't begin loud. It begins quiet, soft, familiar. It hides inside repetition, tone, and timing. And before you notice it, your nervous system is trained to confuse love with anxiety. The first mechanism is conditioning, the slow drip of repeated language that teaches you to shrink before conflict. Every guilt trip, every sigh, every just leave then, teaches your brain that peace only exists when you surrender. The second is intermittent reinforcement, that unpredictable rhythm of pain and reward. One cruel phrase followed by a tearful apology, one insult followed by affection, That contrast is addictive. You start craving the relief, not the love. And the third is normalization. The story society sells as romance. Movies call it passion. Friends call it just relationships. But it's dysfunction wrapped in tradition. Here's the truth. You can't argue your way out of manipulation. You can only outgrow it. Because once you see the pattern, you stop reacting, you start observing, and the moment you observe clearly, the control breaks. Not because she changed, but because you did. Pain is a brutal teacher, but it teaches perfectly. Every argument, every silent treatment, every phrase that made you doubt yourself wasn't just manipulation. It was education. You were learning what love is not. Real love doesn't keep score. It doesn't weaponize guilt or test devotion. It doesn't make you walk on eggshells just to earn peace. Real love gives peace first, then everything else. So ask yourself honestly, have you been loved or have you been managed? Have you been chosen or simply used? That answer might hurt, but clarity always comes before freedom. And once you see clearly, you can never unsee it. You don't have to keep proving you're good enough for someone who only feels powerful when you feel small. You don't have to keep explaining yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. You don't have to stay, because understanding is power, and power is peace. When you stop defending yourself to the wrong person, you become untouchable to every manipulator after them. That's not bitterness. That's growth. It's the calm that follows awakening. So if this message hits something real inside you, don't bury it. Share it. Comment which phrase you've heard. It might help another man wake up. And if you're ready to stop being controlled by words and start seeing patterns for what they are, subscribe, stay aware, and remember this: real love doesn't owe, test, or threaten. Real love gives peace.